type of drills and exercises should occur at the school building level?
Well, there are several types. The first type that's most common are tabletop exercises, and that's simply with the scenario, sitting around a table and discussing how you would resolve a problem or a crisis. Schools can conduct drills, fire drills, lockdown drills, bomb threat drills. These types of activities really prepare the school community for a crisis.
Where can staff find free training on incident command?
Incident Command, or the National Incident Management System, may be found free at www.fema.gov. There are several independent study online courses that a person can take. They can even receive a certification. So yeah, I would go to the FEMA website to get free courses.
Can you think of examples of schools that have been able to have good prevention measures?
I think there are so many examples of schools with good prevention measures. I mean, there are everything from Oveus bullying programs to DARE to just good old-fashioned teachers talking to students, principals knowing the students' names, and people just getting along. Those are the best prevention programs. You really don't have to buy one. You don't have to look on the internet to find a prevention program. A good one is just knowing your students, knowing your student body, and offering an inviting and welcoming school for all students.
You mentioned bullying. Just how serious a problem is this?
Bullying is not a new problem. That's one thing that we need to understand, is that acts of bullying have been happening since the beginning of time. We just want to make sure that schools understand that they have a process in place for which students can report bullying, that they feel comfortable reporting bullying, and that something's going to happen once they do report it.
What kind of success stories have you seen in this area?
Oh, so many. We've done some work here in Louisiana in a couple of parishes, and I think the success stories is a forum like this, inviting the community to come in and to really get good information about what's going on, how to keep their students safe. Actually having presentations and forums like this for the communities, that's the best success stories I could give.
Bottom line, what would you recommend to parents and to school officials?
Be proactive. Now is the time to start thinking about improving the level of safety for your schools. We don't want to wait till an act of violence happens before we start doing something.
If people have questions or like more information, what should they do?
They can definitely go to our website, which is www.safehavensinternational.org. That's www.safehavensinternational.org. We have tons of free resources.
I'll say, first of all, that Dr. Shepard covered a lot of very good information on keeping children safe, keeping our classrooms safe, and keeping our schools safe. I think that the first key point is that every school should know that during some type of attack or impending danger to children, the first 30 seconds are the most important. And so schools have to train all staff on what to do during a potential danger to children. And as everybody is trained, they're also empowered to act within those 30 seconds. You don't have 30 seconds to call the principal and get some actions, but the principal should be proactive in training all staff ahead of time so that they can act appropriately in those first 30 seconds. Also, we learned that it's important to observe everything in the school. We have to always keep our eyes and ears open as to what's going on in the schools and around children. We saw a simulation in a school in which an attacker came in with a knife. And he approached the school secretary, and the school secretary was so focused on the potential attacker and the knife that she didn't even notice an attack dog in the background. So, even during the day-to-day course of school business, all school personnel should keep their eyes and ears open and observe everything. And of course, in the event of some impending danger, it's also important for the school personnel to keep some distance between themselves and a weapon or potential attacker. And, you don't reason with someone with a weapon. And of course, again, it's important for the school to follow the lockdown procedures. I think the other thing that was so important to learn is that we put so much emphasis on academic achievement and test scores. It's important that school safety is correlated in a positive way with school test scores. So school safety is more than just the shooters and the attackers and the guns. It is providing that environment on a day-to-day basis where all school personnel and children and parents can stay safe on a day-to-day basis. I think those are the key points. And then, of course, we also learned about some important things to do in the school in order to keep children safe and classrooms safe and schools safe. This was brought out so well, and that is children should not be left alone in the school building. You know, sometimes a child gets time out for punishment and they send the child to the teacher, or some other staff will send the child to the auditorium, and that child is in there by himself or herself. Perfect opportunity for an abduction. And so children in school should never, never, ever be left alone. You probably remember sometimes in schools, our audiences did, that they were sent to the hallway if they were bad in class. Children should never be left alone in any school. And of course, every staff member has to be trained on their individual role. And the thing that Dr. Shepard emphasized in that area is that not only trained in their individual role, there has to be practice, practice, practice at all times. You know, we have the fire drills, and so we should have those lockdown drills and those other drills that follow up and pertain to the training that teachers and school personnel have had. Everybody must be trained in lockdown, school lockdown, and empowered to use the training at that first instance of potential danger. Not calling the principal or calling on someone else, but train and can act quickly, responsibly, and correctly during an impending danger. I think the other things to do, the schools can do, and anybody, and child care providers, anyone who has responsibility for our precious children, is to, I talked about training, but to take that important time, it could be an hour, it could be a half day, it could be a full day of planning for what to do and how to do it, practicing that, and then of course empowering all the personnel to do what they need to do and to have those important drills. I think it's also important to know that there is free school safety training on the internet through www.fema.gov, www.fema.gov. And those are just some of the things that schools and child care providers can do to keep children safe. But again, remember, I think it's important for our audience to remember that the first 30 seconds are the most important. Planning, training, and empowering those who are employed to keep children safe, keeping eyes open to observe everything, because we just never know. And don't leave children alone at school or in a room at a child care facility as well. Dr. Shepard did an excellent job today in telling us what she knows from over 2,000, I think almost 2,500 school safety trainings that she has done, in addition to going into schools and doing those important assessments and going into child care centers, assessing and evaluating just how safe they are keeping their children. And of course, this is important for all of us in Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge, and the state of Louisiana. That is to keep our children safe, and know that just as it is important for us to teach our children, it is as important to train our teachers and to help increase our academic achievement by providing a safe learning environment for all children.
I'm extremely excited to hear what Dr. Shepard has to say today. I believe we need to find some solutions in our school district and in our community where we can put in place some safety measures that are policy-wide, that unite the different organizations and groups in the community around the same concerns. And I'm hoping we hear some ways that we can put in some preventive measures that will help us that aren't expensive. Some ways that we can save money and yet provide safety for our students. Because I know parents are one of the concerns parents have about schools is safety. Number one, safety.
How can parents be involved in the safety issue?
Well, first of all, they can be aware of what the district is doing and what the district policies are. Here in East Baton Rouge Parish, we have some safety measures in place that probably most parents don't know about. But if they'd go to our website and look at them, they would see many things that we're doing community-wide with the police, with the fire stations. Every policeman, every fireman has a map of all of our schools, so if anything were to happen, they know exactly where to go. But parents aren't aware of that, and parents don't know what we do in case of emergencies. And they could make themselves more aware of what we're doing if they go to our website and check it out.
When we think about particularly early childhood development, you have to think about the whole child, and ensuring that kids, regardless of setting, whether it's a school, a child care center, a Head Start center, they need to feel safe and secure. They need to be able to trust the adults around them, and they also need to feel that it's a safe environment.
What's your reaction to this issue being discussed here today?
I'm excited that we are being proactive about thinking about it. It's obviously tragic that we even have to have these types of conversations, but I think it's really important to plan for it, to talk about it, to make sure that everybody is doing kind of planning and drills, but also to talk about kind of how kids respond. Kids are incredibly resilient, and so no one ever wants tragedy to happen to anyone, but when it does happen to our littlest learners, making sure that we're talking about how to help them cope with it and to resolve that.
ExxonMobil and the Academic Distinction Fund have a really unique partnership. Basically, ExxonMobil has a focus on math and science education, and we want to reach students here in Baton Rouge at the earliest ages. And of course, Academic Distinction Fund is focused on early childhood. And this gives us an opportunity to reach students at the earliest levels. So we want to reach kids from age 0 to 5, not just, the middle school outreach that we do and the high school and, college level outreach that we do for specific math and science. We want to reach kids before they even know how to read, when they're learning their early math skills, like, counting and listening to music and things like that. So ADF is a great partner for ExxonMobil, and they help us achieve those goals for STEM education.
I would like for people to keep in mind, particularly knowing that our audience is so diverse today. We have law enforcement officers that are coming today, those at the local, state, and regional level. We have those from the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, the State Department of Early Childhood Education, the different school system officials, teachers, parents, and others. We want them to know that it is everybody's responsibility to keep children safe. All of us working together, all of us collaborating, all of us keeping the child as our focal point. And in so doing, we've got to leave our business cards at the door and all come together and get those important safety plans in place. And again, not only the plans related to security and the shooters, but also that safe school environment. And Dr. Shepard will give those important points on how to do this. But the Distinguished Speaker Series is not an entertainment series. It is an action series, and we want individuals, those professionals, those parents, and others who come to leave with take-home tools and take-home information that they can put into practice, and in this case, in keeping children safe.
What's your reaction to what you've heard here today?
I did know that Dr. Shepard would do an outstanding job. She speaks internationally, and I won't even mention some of the places because these are places that are terrorized on an annual basis, and she has practical take-home tools. I'm just really just blown away with the information that she shared, because I knew she would bring some very good information, take-home tools, but the information is so practical. The audience has been very receptive, and I really believe that of all the series we've had so far, that the audience will use this information wherever they work, and particularly where children play. I think the other point that she made that is so poignant, and many times we don't think about it, and that is that part of keeping children safe is on the school bus, with the school bus drivers, and not only driving safety, but the leadership that school bus drivers need to take in keeping safety inside the doors of school buses. So this is very compelling for Baton Rouge, and with the different laws that have been put in place for law enforcement and Bessie and the State Department of Education to work together, I think we'll see dramatic improvement on how that's done.